Hey, folks. Welcome back to another episode of Artist Stories of Middle Georgia. I'm your host, Victor Rigoli. And today, my guest in the studio is Adam Hanley. Adam, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Great. I want to share a little bit about Adam's bio here. He's an artist from Southwest Georgia. He received a Bachelor's of Science in Biology and Studio Art from the University of Alabama. I guess we could say we're all tied there a little bit for all the Alabama fans out there. And a Master of Science in Medical Illustration from Augusta University. While he is working on starting his career in medical illustration, Adam has also been rediscovering his love for fine art. He especially enjoys painting both portraits and plein air landscapes and oils. And folks, I had a class, took a workshop with Adam last month up in Forsyth at the 1823 Artisan Guild and got to meet him. And I really enjoyed that class and learned a lot, Adam, and appreciate you coming up there. Adam's actually you're not in the Middle Georgia area per
Yeah.
se. You're kind of a little bit southwest of here,
Yeah.
but that's okay. I mean, you have some ties to Middle Georgia, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to get you on because I was fascinated in doing some research about you. I saw some of your medical illustrations that you
Oh,
had
really?
out on social. Yeah, and I thought, wow, that is impressive. And I thought about you this past Monday, believe it or not. I Here in Warner Robins at the Galleria Mall this week is the Houston County Middle School, High School uh, art student presentation or competition that's hosted by the Fine Art Society of Middle Georgia. And I got to assist with some judging in that. And I was working on and helping to judge the Scholastic or Scholarship Award winners. And I noticed in one of their bios that one of the students wanted to do that. They wanted to do some medical
Oh, really?
illustration. Yeah. And I thought, oh, Adam does that. So that
Yeah.
was kind of cool. And so, hey, I knew a little bit about that just from meeting you and talking to you a little bit and researching and everything. But I wanted to get you on here today just to talk about your artist story. It's kind of unique, I think,
Hmm.
when you think about it, because it's a little different. I wish you had sent me a little bit of some of your illustrations of on the medical side. That would have been cool to show.
Yeah. Sorry,
And if you
I
do
didn't think
have
about doing that.
some, yeah, if you have some, you want to email them to me because I can put them in
Yeah.
Facebook and I can maybe use one of them as a thumbnail or something,
Hmm.
with a YouTube. But that would be great too, just to see some of that. But where does your artist story begin, Adam?
Yeah. I feel like it's kind of a cliche for most artists that you kind of say that you always been drawing or doing some kind of creative stuff.
Right.
But like that's true. I've always like my earliest memories are like finger painting as a toddler, and so I've always just been drawing or painting or doing something.
Right.
And like I didn't really, I mean, I was always like the kid that whenever I had free time in class, I would be drawing on printer paper or in a sketchbook or something. Um, but I didn't really start taking it seriously until probably my, I want to say junior or senior year of high school. So I was like, I remember I was drawing, I was in the, I don't know if you know what the beta club is.
I do. Yes.
Yeah, okay. So I was in that, and one of my teachers was the like director, I guess.
Mhm.
And I was sketching in her class, and she like saw what I was doing. She's like, "Oh, that's really cool. Like you should. We're gonna be going to the state convention this year, and they have like art competitions as part of the convention." And she was like, you should do one." And so I did. I signed up for one was you could draw something and then submit it, and then another was like a live competition. So they had like a still life set up, and you had like I think maybe a couple hours to draw a still life from life. And so yeah, I did that. Didn't I was not very good. Like
That's all right.
uh
Hey, it was a
compared
good
to everybody
experience,
else.
though.
I know
Yeah.
like it was very eye opening because I didn't
Right.
really like I was the best artist that I knew in my age.
Right. Right.
And so like getting to see like all these other kids who are like way more skilled was just kind of eye-opening. But it was still, yeah, it was a fun experience, and it kind of made me realize that I did want to do something creative, like as a career.
Right.
And
Right.
so, but I was also, in addition to being the like artsy kid, I really love science and like science fiction and just anything that had to do with like life science and stuff like that. I
Gotcha.
would always be
Gotcha.
watching like Animal Planet and
Okay.
in my
Okay.
free time.
Yeah.
So I thought about maybe I wanted to go into medicine because in the class that my teacher saw me drawing, there was actually an anatomy class that they offered. And I really enjoyed that class, like getting to learn about the body and just all the different
Right.
systems and stuff
Right.
was really cool. And so I thought that kind of made me think, well, maybe I should, go to med school and be a doctor. And the more I thought about it, I was like, oh, this is like 8 years, basically like 4 more years, 4 years of college, 4 years of med school, like 2 or 3 of residencies, and like all. And it's just, I was like, I don't know if I'm that
Say, how
passionate
old will
about.
I be and how far in debt will
Yeah,
I be when I can actually start practicing and
yeah.
earning some money? Yeah. Yeah.
And I have a friend, like one of my best friends is in med school, and like whenever he talks about the stuff he's doing, I'm like, there's no, like he's very passionate about it, and
Right. Right.
I'm like, I could never do that for that long. But so I was kind of trying to figure out. I was like, well, I don't really want to do that, and so I was kind of at an impasse in terms of like what I wanted to study in college. And then
Right.
my dad actually was doing some research, and he was like, hey, you like science, you like drawing and art. And I don't know how I think he just Googled like, what should you do if you like science and art, and medical illustration came up. Um, and so I was like, oh, that my first thought was like, that's not a real job. Cause he said you should do like the drawings and textbooks and stuff. And I was like, oh, that's
Hmm.
not
Hmm.
like, I never thought about who did that. And so I
Yeah.
didn't think that that was
We
a
take a
real,
lot of that
yeah.
for granted, when you think about it.
Yeah. So I looked into it some more, and it turned out there is like, this is an actual career, and there's like master's degrees you can get in this. Um, and so when I was applying, there were 3 schools in the US and one in Canada. So there's three, though. There's one in Augusta, which is where I graduated from, and then one at Johns Hopkins in Baltimore, and one in Chicago. And I applied to all 3. Um, I got I got interviews with all 3, but Augusta was my top choice because I like the program the best,
Hmm.
and I just thought it would be much easier staying in Georgia.
Right.
Um,
Right.
I wouldn't have to have as much as a culture shock. Like if I had gone to Chicago, that coming from a really small
That's a big
town and then
difference.
going,
Yeah. Small
yeah,
town in Georgia up to Chicago. Yeah.
yeah, and yeah, so luckily I got accepted to Augusta, um, and so I just got my graduated from that program back in May.
Okay.
And yeah, so still currently on the job search right now. It was kind of
Okay.
slow, unfortunately, when I graduated compared to previous years.
Right.
But there has been, like recently in the past couple weeks, there's been more opportunities that have been coming up. So
Good.
specifically for like recent graduates, there have been postings, but those are more for people who are kind of already established and have more
Right.
experience. So
Right.
yeah. But yeah, so and in the meantime, I've been like you said, kind of getting back into fine art. And I've been really enjoying that, just kind of seeing where it's taken me. And so going forward, I do want to continue painting and have that, in my life in some way. Whether that be, if it turns out I can do it professionally in the future, I will. And so, yeah.
Yeah, I think you probably could. I think you could do both at the same time, to be
Yeah.
honest. I mean, a lot of artists that are out there still have full-time jobs. and they're doing their art on the side, and some may be doing it 50-50 or whatever, and I remember when I got started, with painting and everything, I was still working full time. And so, 7:30 to 4 o'clock every day, I was working my normal job, and I couldn't wait to get off so I could start painting again. And I was doing it late to the evening, especially on weekends, sometimes 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, Friday night, Saturday night, just spending a lot of time and learning and growing. And of course, I retired a few years ago, but it's changed a lot since then. But yeah, I think you could do both. You could balance it out because you're so talented. And folks, we're going to show some of Adam's work here in just a few minutes. But how often? Let me ask you this. I mean, we met, and I may have mentioned this a few weeks ago at a workshop there for portrait painting, and it was in oil painting. And I'm an oil painter, and I've been wanting to do more with portraits. And I've had people ask me, do you do portraits? And I said, well, I've done a couple, but I want to get better at it. And it's challenging. And I'm really impressed on how some people are able to do the portraits, because it's got to be pretty much spot on, right? I mean, you got to get those eyes just right. They can't be too big, too small, that kind of thing. Doing a landscape, it doesn't matter if that tree's too skinny or too fat. Nobody's going to pay that much attention to it. Hey, it's a tree. It could be a tree that you just added to the scene that wasn't there when you were out painting, right? So we have that freedom and that liberty, that artistic freedom to do that. But when you're painting a portrait, it's got to be pretty much spot on. So I admire you for the work that you do. And have you been teaching long? I know that I mentioned about the class or workshop up there in Forsyth, but have you taught a lot?
No, that was actually my first time teaching.
You did a great job, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah, I was very nervous, because I'd never done that before, and I didn't tell Denise that it was my first time. And so I was wondering, oh, should I have mentioned that? Does she know that I've never taught before? But yeah, she said that I did fine. So
yeah, you did great. You did great.
Yeah, it was hard getting into it at first, but once I kind of got going, it was better.
Well,
so
several things. I mean, it was a learning experience because you probably learned a lot yourself going through it. Because, and I've heard this, and I've experienced it a little bit too. As a teacher, you learn a lot as you're teaching. You really do. You learn a little bit about teaching styles. How do I engage my students? How do I keep them engaged? Do they need? You got to have a balance of, one-on-one kind of time. And I appreciate you kind of coming around and checking on everybody. Okay, where are we at? What do you need help with? And that kind of thing. Because a lot of artists will just get up there and paint. And I was talking to somebody about this the other day about tutorials. I've purchased some tutorials online and from a reputable company that I've purchased from before. And I started watching, and at first the artist was talking a little bit about what they were doing, but then all of a sudden 10 or 15 minutes go by and they haven't said a word. And they're just painting. And I thought, well, I can just watch that on YouTube. Because there's a lot of artists that just do time lapse. I said, you're not telling me anything. You're not teaching me anything. I mean, what colors are you? Why are you using your brush this way? Or how should I hold my brush? And how to angle the brush, to get certain brush strokes and that kind of thing. So yeah, it's a learning experience every time we teach. And I appreciate you talking about what's going on. And the colors and how to mix the colors. And the thing that I really like too is your handout that you had. And I thought that was really good too, because I noticed a lot of people. I know Aaron that was sitting next to me, and I and a few others, we'd refer back to that. Oh, okay, we got to mix this color. Okay, and you had that in the document and handout and everything. And I thought this is really great. Talk about your limited palette that you use in doing portrait paintings.
Yeah, so it's it's called the Zorn palette. Also
Okay.
some people call it the Apelles palette. The the Zorn is named after Anders Zorn, who is a Swedish impressionist portrait painter who's like he's a contemporary of like John Singer Sargent.
Mhm.
So kind of that late 19th, early 20th century work, like the very loose, kind of style that still looks naturalistic, but he's
Right.
not, do like a brushstroke, a finger. He'll just do one brushstroke and it looks perfect.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but so that wasn't the only palette that he used, but he would use that from my research. Uh, he would use that for mostly like indoor portraits
Uh-huh.
because you can't like I've seen people do landscapes with it somehow. But you don't have the big thing is with that palette is you don't have a blue. So it's titanium white, naphthol red, which I use, and most people with that palette we use cadmium red.
Right.
Um but and then the actual original palette he would have used flake white, so that has lead in it. Um,
Right.
and then vermilion, which is very expensive and also a little toxic. And so most people will use cadmium red because it's less expensive. And then for the yellow, he would use yellow ochre, which is a
Mhm.
like earth yellow, so it's not as vibrant. Um, and then instead of blue, he used ivory black, which is actually it's a cool black. So if you put white into ivory black, it actually looks you can see it looks slightly it's a slightly bluer gray. So
Bluish
it's
gray
not
to it. Yeah.
yeah, it's not like
Mhm.
a pure black. And with like I've been painting a lot of people with like blue eyes and with that palette, and you can still make the eyes look very blue just by surrounding them with warmer colors. So it makes that gray look a lot cooler.
Really.
Um, but yeah, it's just I really like it because it's very simple. There's not like you only have a few choices when you're mixing colors. You just have to, does it need more red? Does it need more yellow? Does it need to be cooler? So you'd add ivory black or um, yeah, so it's just that's when I started getting back into painting portraits. That's what I started using because it was just I think it's pretty beginner friendly because it's very you don't get overwhelmed with so many different choices. And yeah, so and I've recently I mentioned earlier that I started using Hansa yellow, which is a cadmium yellow alternative,
Mhm.
just to get some more like vibrant yellows and oranges that
Right.
you can't get with the yellow ochre. Um, but yeah, that's kind of what
Yeah.
I've been using for portraits.
That's good. I like it that it's a limit. You hit on something about there's too many choices sometimes out there. There's
Mhm.
just way too many colors. I mean, you think about the different reds and stuff. I mean, different brands. I mean, oil paint companies and everything. And for the most part, they have the same pigment in it. But yeah, if you go out to buy paint from one of the online stores, you could just be overwhelmed.
Mhm.
The different blues and the different yellows and stuff like that. And so, especially for the beginner side, it helps you to kind of hone in on those somewhat with the Zorn palette. You could call it almost primary colors for the Zorn palette, right? I mean,
Yeah, it really is because
yeah,
just the blue is. I mean, the blue is your black. Like
right,
sorry, the
right,
black is your
right.
blue. So it's still a traditional primary,
They-
but it's
yeah,
just more
yeah,
muted.
right. So, and it teaches folks, how to mix colors and how to get flesh tones and things like that. So,
Mhm.
yeah, it's really cool. And I've watched some other tutorials and follow some other artists, and they use a limited palette as well.
Mhm.
Not necessarily the Zorn palette, but they'll limit their colors. And I'm surprised too on how many artists will incorporate a little bit of green
Yeah.
into the portrait painting. And I never thought about it before and using that until I saw it, until I saw an
Mhm.
artist actually using that. And I thought, oh yeah, I can see that now. So, which is really cool. So, what do you find the most challenging about portrait painting?
Um, I think obviously like getting a likeness is probably the most difficult, especially for beginners.
Right.
And I like I've been doing it for a little while, so it comes a little easier. But I think also there's a stage where it doesn't look like you're close to getting the likeness,
Mm-hmm.
um, but it's still just like slightly off, and you kind of have to figure out what is causing it to be off, and you got like I have to push through that a lot of times. Like pretty much every painting, there's a stage where it's like it doesn't look how I want it to look,
Right.
and
Right.
I just got to get through that, and then it'll resolve and I'll figure it out. I think that's probably the most difficult for me is just like the mind game aspect of it,
Mm-hmm.
kind
Mm-hmm.
of like getting over your fear, but of it not turning out well.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that can be challenging, especially for newer people, getting those proportions down. And then sometimes it just comes, like you said, with experience of knowing what's not right and what I need to do to fix it.
Hmm.
And those that are just starting out may not know what it is they need to do to fix it.
Hmm.
But you got to keep practicing and going through and working through it and that kind of thing. And I think it's key too, whenever you're doing painting, period, you got to step back and step away to look,
Yeah.
because sometimes we get so close to it, we don't see some distortion or whatever, or we don't see that, hey, my eyes are too far apart, or I've got them off, they're not aligned like they should be. And
Hmm.
stepping back and helps with that.
Yeah, I try
Sure.
to squint too. I
Yeah,
know a lot of people. Yeah, I
yeah,
recommend just to kind of blur it
yeah,
because and
yeah.
that's kind of how I try to teach the class is that when I'm very loose and rough in the beginning because I don't want to get too tight, and then I don't want to have an eye that's perfectly painted, and then I realize it's an inch too far to the right, and I have to
Right, right.
scrape it down and start
Yeah,
over.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Well, what
and
do you find? Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
No, I was just gonna say that I've seen a lot of artists I follow, like portrait painters, will say that the likeness doesn't come from like the details. It's more
Uh-huh.
from the like overall general like if you squint, I think the example they would give is like you can recognize somebody from like down the street, but you can't see every detail like of their face, if that
Right,
makes sense.
right.
And
It
so if you
does. It
blur,
does.
yeah.
Yeah,
So if you
yeah,
blur the painting down
yeah,
just to its really basic shapes and stuff,
yeah,
it'll
yeah.
you can get a likeness like that, and that's really helped
Right,
me when I paint.
right. A lot of the old masters, didn't do a lot of detail in some of their people in their paintings. I
Hmm.
was noticing that in a Claude Monet painting. I saw a print at the Goodwill earlier this week, and I didn't want to pay what they were asking for it, but I
Yeah.
thought, I could paint that myself and maybe modernize it. But I took a picture of it and I was looking it up online too, and I found it, and I was looking at it was a kind of a beach scene, and there were some boats in the water, and there were some people kind of up on the beach, and you knew they were people, and some of them kind of had a profile look, but there was hardly any detail at all in their face.
Hmm.
Okay. And that was something I was working on recently too for another painting and I know another artist that does this too is it's a person and you can see some of the shapes, but at a distance it doesn't matter. I'm
Hmm.
not trying. It's not a portrait, right? It's just like you see a landscape. There's the trees, but you don't see every leaf on the tree, right?
Yeah.
You don't paint every leaf on the tree. But you're right. I think getting that likeness down and at a distance, you can see, wow, they capture that person perfectly.
Hmm.
Is it a photorealistic painting? No, I don't think it should be.
Yeah.
To be honest. Um, but yeah. Um, so, what do you find the most rewarding that you just enjoy doing when it comes to portrait painting?
I think it's really just the like getting past that stage where I call it the ugly phase. It's like
Okay.
where it
Okay.
doesn't look
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly what I want. And so like that it's that point where you add like a brush stroke and then it all comes together and it looks like the person and it feels like, they're sitting in the room with you is kind of the most rewarding part for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's challenging too, getting through the ugly phase,
Yeah.
So it's like, do I continue on with this or just start over? Hey,
Yeah.
keep pushing through. But it's part of your process,
Mhm.
right? Because I remember from the class, and there were some things going on, and you were painting uh, in the eye area and kind of the eye sockets, and they were all this one kind of solid color. I said, "What the
Yeah.
crap is he doing?" It's like, okay, we're getting lights and darks in,
Yeah.
basically. And you know where the eyes are going to go. So be patient because he's going to add some lighter color on top of that, and you're going to see it form and magically it formed. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's kinda also that kinda, is like the creepy phase too, because it
yeah,
looks kinda
yeah, it is.
scary.
It is.
Um,
Yeah. Hey, don't let anybody in your studio when you stop to take a break or hey, I got to let this dry and then come back. They're going to say, and especially if you're doing a commission, they're going to think, "Holy cow, what is he?"
yeah.
Yeah. Just be patient. This is all part of the process. Well, let's talk a little bit about your medical illustration. And what do you use? What tools do you use? What medium is it? Is it watercolor? Is it pencil? Is it what pastel? Talk a little bit
No,
about that.
so
How do
now,
you
like,
do that? Okay.
it's pretty much exclusively digital nowadays. That's just the
Okay.
easiest, like, medical illustration has a lot of there's a lot of medical illustration is kind of a umbrella term for a lot of different disciplines, because you can have, like, people that they work in like patient education, so they'll work with a hospital and produce like materials that kind of educate people that
Right.
come to the hospital on different things they need to know. Some people will do like surgical illustrations, so they'll make a series that kind of illustrates how a surgeon should perform a surgery. Another big one is medical legal, so people will work with uh, medical legal firms and produce exhibit boards that kind of like for malpractice or personal injury cases. They'll have a illustration that shows like, okay, this is what happened. This is what the defense or the prosecution is saying will happen. Um, and then another big one is animation. So
Mm-hmm.
specifically like 3D animation and like molecular animation for people. There's whole studios that all they do is make animations for pharmaceutical companies that show the mechanism of action for the drug and kind of how it works. And so that like in the past, like back in the day, they would use watercolor or airbrushing
Okay.
for full color, and then they also use for black and white and like line drawings. That was more popular before digital came in. They would use like pen and ink and then carbon dust. So
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like charcoal. You get that was actually our first project in grad school was a carbon dust skull. So we had a skull set up that we drew from life, and we like rendered it and everything in carbon dust. And it's kind of like uh, you get these like carbon pencils and you shave them down, and you get a bunch of like little like dust. So that's like where the name comes from. It's carbon
Okay.
dust, and
Okay.
then you can almost paint with it. So we get like little like makeup brushes, and
Oh
you just kind
wow.
of brush it on the paper. Yeah. It was really like we all loved it. Like me and my classmates.
Yeah.
I kind of
That
want to
sounds interesting.
try to.
I'd
Yeah.
like to
It's
see
like
that process.
yeah. But we did that. So we rendered that in black and white and carbon dust, and then put it into Photoshop and colorized it. Um, and that was kind of like I think they did that more to give us like a foundation in the like traditional
Right,
techniques.
right.
But then like we'd always do sketches and like preliminary sketches in pencil most of the time, and then scan those and then draw on top of it in Photoshop and add color. Um,
Okay.
and
Is that kind
then
of the process that you go through now?
yeah,
Is you kind of have the concept, and it's like you do, like with doing landscape paintings or even doing plein air, doing a little thumbnail sketch or little
mhm.
sketches as to getting that down, and then go through the different phases to get the final end
Yeah,
product.
that was during our projects, like that was it was kind of a requirement. Like we'd be presented the what we needed to illustrate, and then we'd have some time to make some thumbnail sketches. We'd have a critique um, on those and kind of see which one was working the best, and then we'd do a like a preliminary sketch. So it was more refined than a thumbnail, but still very rough. Um, and then we'd have another critique, just kind of seeing what was working, what wasn't, and then we'd do a final sketch, um, and then start working on a color study and rendering. Um, but yeah, that's kind of, I think it's just more efficient, like with digital nowadays, because like back in the day, when they're using watercolor or airbrush, they would have to, they'd have a critique and they're like, okay, this isn't really working. They'd have to start over. Um,
Wow.
because in Photoshop they like, oh, this, like you need this color is a little off, and so we just put a layer on top and change the color, and um, like a couple minutes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's a lot easier. It's a lot more efficient nowadays
Right.
with
Right.
digital.
A lot better
Um,
than starting over from scratch.
yeah.
Yeah. Because once you
Mhm.
get that watercolor down and it's dry, well,
Yeah.
or whatever. Yeah. Wow, that's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. And then we also do for the 3D stuff, you can do, I mentioned 3D animation, and then also another big one is like 3D models. So you can have they'll use them for like interactives, they call them, where you can kind of
Hmm.
like turn it on your screen and kind of like look at stuff. So we used a program called ZBrush for the modeling. So it's kind of
Okay.
like digital clay almost. Like
Oh,
it kind of
really?
feels like sculpting clay. Yeah. Um,
Interesting.
yeah, it's pretty cool. Like I never used it before, and it there's a little bit of a learning curve with it that can be kind of frustrating at first, especially if you never use it before. Um, but yeah, that's kind of the rundown of like what I learned in grad school.
Yeah.
A very quick overview.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I didn't realize, how the different tools that you use in
Hmm.
creating something like that. But I can see the artistic side of it and the process side of it very similar to,
Hmm.
some of the things that I do,
Yeah.
from a studio landscape, plein air type painter. So I
Mhm.
want to share with everybody and pull in here to the stage. I'm going to back my little photos up here. Some of your work, okay, some of your paintings. So tell us a little bit about this. And these are all oil paintings. Is that correct, Adam?
All
Okay.
oil paintings.
All right.
Yeah, this one actually was not plein air. It actually is from a picture that I took coming back from painting plein air. Um, so I was painting at the Veterans State Park near Lake Blackshear, um,
Okay.
and it was starting like I could see my mom actually called me and she was like, "Hey, are you still painting? Because it looks like it's pouring over here at
Uh
work.
huh. Uh huh.
It looks like it's coming that way." So I could see the rain clouds coming and heard some thunder, and then it kind of started to sprinkle a little bit. And so I was like, "Okay, well, I better pack up and get out of here." So when I was driving back between Americus and Lake Blackshear, there's some like a lot of fields and stuff because we're in the country.
Right.
And it was just there is like the cloud formations were just really cool. Like off in the distance with the thunderstorm coming in, and so uh, I kind of took some pictures just for reference of some of the different clouds, and then came back in the studio and painted that. And I like it. There's some things I probably changed. I was trying to work on one of the big things I'm trying to improve on is my composition, and so that's kind
Gotcha.
of this was more like a
That's a
composition
challenge
study.
for a lot of artists. Yeah.
I think composition. I think landscapes are probably more challenging personally in terms of composition because it's hard to. It's not as intuitive for me to like change parts of the landscape to.
I hear you. I'm
help
with
the
you.
composition.
Yeah, I understand.
So that's a challenge. So like getting
what to leave
trying
in,
to
what
leave,
to take out, kind of thing.
Yeah. So I was trying to make a little bit of a like an S curve kind of with the
I can see that.
The trees in the foreground and the midground to kind of lead the eye. So
it does that. Yeah, I love the clouds.
Thanks.
I really like storms too, and scenes that have storms. And I've sold some of my paintings to a collector that she loves storms, stormy weather, and she bought some of my artwork in the past. So yeah, there's collectors out there. So it's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Is this down at St. Simon's?
Yeah. This is on, I can't remember the beach. It's on the like northern part of the island, like at the very, like the main like stretch of sand that runs down the island. That's at the very top. And so it's just a dune facing back towards the island, but there's like a little bit of, not a lagoon, but I guess some like water kind of in the background.
Is that close to East Beach, maybe?
I think it might actually be East Beach.
Yeah. It's kind of way on down to the very end. And it's suffered a lot of erosion down in that area from the storms. So, but yeah, I think I know where that's at. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
cool. But it was at like, I think it was in the later part of the afternoon. And so the sun was kind of creating some really nice shadows. On the dune. So yeah, this was really fun to paint. And actually it was cool because I got some people, when you're plein air painting,
people always come up all the time.
And some guy came
what
up.
You doing? I'm painting. What are you? I'm cooking hot dogs. I don't know. What do you think I'm doing?
But a guy actually came up and he said that he was getting into oil painting and plein air painting.
That's cool.
So it was fun to talk to him.
What size is that?
This is an 8x10, I think.
Oh, okay. 8x10.
I usually work pretty small on
small when you go out. I recently got me a new plein air box. I had one, a Peugeot box, and it was pretty good size, and it was kind of bulky to carry around, and I opted for a smaller one that I can just put in my backpack, and I can just attach it to my tripod, and it works out pretty good. I think the largest size panel I can get on there is probably 11 by 14, and that's a stretch, really.
Okay.
So I've done a 9 by 12, 8x10, and I think I can go smaller. But yeah, I'll probably just do 9 by 12 or smaller size.
I have a sorry.
No, go ahead. I mean,
I have a Strata easel that I use for plein air paint, and they are quite expensive.
All right.
So if you have the money to burn and you want a really good plein air easel that will last forever, because they're made out of like solid, I'm not sure what the metal is, but it's I don't think it'll ever break on me. And it's pretty light. They have a mini that's really small, but I have the one that's like a step up from that. So it's like the smallest of the standard size ones. And I can fit, I know I use it, this is kind of off topic, but there's a art center in Atlanta that has regular live model sessions.
Uh-huh.
And I'll bring my Strata easel up there when I go up to paint. And I just painted a 12 by 16 with my
Okay.
easel, so I
Okay.
know it can fit up to that. But yeah, I got a set, so it came with the easel, a couple, and it attaches like a tripod. Um,
Okay.
so I got the tripod that came with it, and then like a couple um, cans for oil
Right.
or
Right.
diffused solvents.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I recommend them if you need a expensive Christmas gift
Okay.
or
Okay. I'll
something.
keep that in mind for sure.
Yeah,
The one I got is called New Wave, and it's
yeah, I've heard that too.
yeah, it's the medium sized one. Um, and so far, I like it. I mean, like I said, I just stick that little sucker in the backpack, and I already had the
Hmm.
tripod, so it just works great.
Hmm.
I like it. It came with a white ceramic palette, and then I
Hmm.
ordered the glass uh, palette, and then I like a gray palette, so I painted one side a flat gray color,
Hmm.
and so I've got that now in my plein air box. But yeah,
Yeah, I have a big glass palette with a gray backing on it for in the
yeah,
studio. That's
yeah.
really nice.
I've got one of those too. I built a little box for it. It's like 18 by 24 inches, and gives me plenty of room to mix paint and what have you. And I recently bought a new piece of glass for it, um, but I haven't installed it yet. So, um, all right. Tell us a little bit about
Um,
this one here.
yeah, so this one's also from St. Simon's, from like the same spot. I think it was a different day. So kind of around the same time though. I'm always I think personally for me, landscapes are harder than portraits.
hmm No,
Just
that's
from
the opposite to me. Portraits.
yeah,
Maybe it's because I've been doing landscapes so long. I don't know.
I
But
think it's just more like the finding like an interesting composition with a
yeah, yeah,
landscape, because
gotcha.
with a
Yeah,
portrait you already have like a person, and that's already interesting. I mean, you got to do some
right,
more
right,
stuff to make it a really good painting, but you're already starting off with something that will kind of draw people in. So, but with
true.
landscapes, I for me personally, it's just hard to uh, just think of something, looking out and kind of canceling out all the noise and trying to focus on something. But with this one, I just really like I thought the clouds were
They
interesting.
are.
Um,
Yeah.
and I was trying to practice my the sky, like my like skyscapes or yeah, skyscapes.
Hmm.
And kind of that like gradient from the top of the sky, and it gets a little lighter towards the bottom.
Right, right.
And like practicing some color mixing. There's an artist that I follow on Instagram and Patreon, who he's a really good landscape painter, and he does a lot of tutorials on and talks about like what he does when he's painting and what he's mixing.
Hmm.
Um,
Who,
so yeah,
who is
that's
that that you follow?
his name's Patrick Okrasinski. You might have, I don't know if you heard of
I
him.
think I might have heard of him. Hmm.
He's really young, but he's very like he's he has a ton of followers on Instagram, and he's
Okay.
been doing
I'll have to check
a
him
lot of
out for
work.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Mhm.
Yeah, I like that scene there.
Thanks.
And you're right. So it's challenging. And I was out last week doing a little plein air painting, and one of the people I was with, you try to get the little viewfinder thing,
Mhm.
and
Yeah, I do have that.
I, I suggested, I said, technically you could get a mat taken out of a 5 by 7 inch frame and use that as your viewfinder.
Mhm.
Although I've got one that I can take out and use, but yeah, because you have so much, and if you're not careful, you can get distracted
Mhm.
and try to incorporate too much in it, and it's like no, And what I've learned to do and started doing is a little thumbnail sketch. And I'll try
Yeah.
to keep that handy close by so I can look at it and say, okay, no, you're not trying to paint all this over to the left or the right. That's not, even though you're seeing all that, that's not what you're focusing in on. That's not what part of your composition. So that's
Mhm.
challenging. But I love this scene. Yeah.
Thanks.
I love St. Simon's and Jekyll and Brunswick,
Yeah.
Darien area. That's one of my favorite places to paint.
Yeah.
And,
I like to go back. I like to go on a like an actual kind of dedicated trip to just doing
yeah,
painting over there.
yeah.
And I know there's a gallery on St. Simon's that they do. I think they have like regular workshops.
They do.
With some
Anderson
pretty
Fine
yeah.
Art
Hmm.
is the gallery down there, and Laurel Daniels has got a workshop coming up at the
Okay.
end, toward the end of this year in October. I think it's the 8th, 9th, and 10th, and I'm going to be signing up for that just as soon as they make it available on their website. I actually called and talked to the gallery. I don't know if it was last Friday or earlier this week, and they said, yeah, well, they haven't opened that up yet. She has one in March, in a week or two, but I'm not able to go down for that one. But yeah, they do a lot of little workshops, and they're
Hmm.
reasonably priced. And I asked the lady, I said, well, I see the price out there, and I said, is that for members, or is there a different price? She said, no, it's the same price. We don't
Okay.
do membership things. I said, good. And you spread the cost over 3 days. It's really economically feasible to do it.
Hmm.
My in-laws live in Jessup, Georgia, and so I'll just get up early the mornings of the workshop and just drive down, and spend the day, and then come back and spend the night and do it again the next day. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Hmm.
Just to be able to get out and have her teach and have some one-on-one attention and ask questions and everything. So yeah.
Hmm.
All right. Here's some of your portraits, paintings, and we recognize the guy on the left there. That's you, of
Yeah.
course. But let's talk a little bit about these.
Yeah. So the one on the left is a self-portrait. And I started it, I think about a week ago. Um, and this is the first layer. So I've been letting it dry, and I'm gonna
Okay.
like oil it out and kind of refine it a little bit more. But this is bigger than I usually work. It's a 16 by 20.
Oh
Um,
wow, that is a pretty good
so
size. Yeah.
yeah. So I've
So
been
what
doing
size do you normally like to
um
paint as far as portraits are
usually
concerned?
usually 9 by 12s, and
Okay.
mostly because I like in February I made kind of a challenge to paint a portrait every other day, just to kind of
Wow. Yeah.
get practice in. Yeah, so I've been doing, and I wanted to finish them like by the end of the day. So I would do a 9 by 12 because that it's small enough where you don't have to worry about covering so much, but
True.
it's not too small that you can't get a. I've heard that I've heard some artists say that to get like a likeness of a person, you have to the head should be about like just larger than your fist. Um,
Okay.
so like any
Yeah.
smaller, it's hard to get those details in.
Gotcha.
So
Gotcha.
that's kind of what
That's a good
I try to
guide.
go on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm hoping to get. I've been doing a lot of self portraits, like smaller ones.
Right. Right.
Just because like I'm the most reliable model I have. So like if I want to set up and take reference photos, I don't have to ask somebody. I can just go do it myself. And
There you
um,
go.
yeah. So yeah, I kind of wanted to try out a bigger, more refined self portrait.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, I follow
yeah,
you on social, and I see when
yeah,
you post time lapses of
yeah,
paintings and everything. Very impressed.
yeah. Those are. I was trying to figure out I think like most artists aren't really big fans of social media, just from the like performance part of it and having to try to fit the algorithm, you know, and all
Yeah.
that. So I tried to figure out, because I did want to be active on it and um, try to post regularly. So I tried to figure out like a way to make some kind of content that was easy and somewhat interesting. And so with the time lapses, I can just set up my camera and just turn the time lapse on in the paint, and it's not really a big intrusion.
Right. Right. It's
Because
perfect.
I
It
started
worked
out
out great.
trying to,
Yeah.
yeah, I started out trying to do like I don't know if you've seen some artists will do, they're not time lapses, but they're kind of like cuts of them painting in real time. And then, yeah, so that I tried to do that at first, and that's just so much harder because I'd have to remember to film while I was painting, and it just got
Right.
really distracting.
Oh yeah.
Um, so yeah, but the time lapses are fun. I really like, and it's really cool seeing your work kind of,
Come to
um,
life.
yeah, come to
You know.
life. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. In a matter of 60 seconds or
Yeah.
90 seconds or so. It's like, wow, look at that. It's
Mhm.
amazing. Tell us a little bit about this one on the right here.
Yeah, so this one is, um I'm subscribed to, have you heard of Stephen Bauman?
Yes. Hmm.
Yeah. So I'm on his Patreon too, and he has, if you I think at any tier of his subscription you can get, he has like hundreds of uh portrait and model references.
Hmm.
And so I use a lot of those if I don't want to pay myself. Sorry. Because he has like, he's like professional, and so he has very good lighting, and um
Right. Right.
so yeah, they're very good references to paint from. So this is one of those. And I was playing around with, I really like artists that they they leave parts of the painting kind of not as finished as the rest.
Uh-huh.
Um, so I was kind of trying to play around with that, um, and just keeping, because I want the focus, of course, to be the face. So I was
Right.
mainly focused on rendering and fleshing out the face, and
Right.
trying to leave other parts of the painting more suggested. So that's kind of what I was doing here. Like you can see at the top of his head, I didn't really put like a hard line showing, where his hair ends and
Right.
the
Right.
background is. It
Yeah, I
kind
see
of
that. Hmm.
leads together. Yeah. So that
Hmm.
was this is more of a study on that. But this is
Okay.
one of my favorites that I've done recently.
Okay. It's good. Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks.
The color, using your palette that you use, I mean, you use a lot similar, the two there
Hmm.
side by side. Yeah. All right. These are the last two that I think I have. Tell us a little bit about these.
Yeah. So these are also from Stephen Bauman's model
Okay.
packs. Um, the one on the left is, um, most of these are, I mean, they're finished, but they're more like studies, I guess. There's not really a narrative like aspect to it, if that,
Right. Right.
they're just portraits. But this one I was trying to um be a little more painterly, and
Hmm.
um because I can sometimes like overwork my paintings.
Right.
So I was trying to leave brushstrokes visible, and um while still trying to, get the form and have it look three dimensional. And I was happy with the results I got from this, trying to, leaving some of those brushstrokes, and
Okay.
uh, yeah. And the one on the right is, I ordered um, some 8 by 16 size panels, because I saw an artist that I follow was painting on them. And I was like, okay, that would be kind of cool. And I
That's an
tried,
odd size or shape
yeah,
for portrait, right? 8 by
yeah,
16. Yeah.
yeah. And
Interesting.
I used one of them for a landscape, and it didn't turn out well. And so I was like,
Okay.
oh, so I was like, oh, I'm probably not going to use that again. But then
Okay.
I remembered that I had them, and so I wanted to test out using that for a portrait. So I looked through the model packs, and found a reference that I thought would work for that, because she has kind of this like long flowing hair coming
Right.
down.
Right.
Um, So that actually, I really like the composition
Mm-hmm.
that I came up with for this one.
It's amazing the color in the hair, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, this is when I started adding in a brighter yellow because
Okay.
I
Yeah.
couldn't get the really vibrant like oranges and yellows in her hair with just the yellow ochre.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Those are
Thanks.
awesome. Thank you for talking a little bit about those. Gosh, it's hard to believe we've been talking for about an hour now, and
Oh,
yeah, I mean, it's a time just. I've just found doing this is very enjoyable and relaxing for me, and I just enjoy meeting new artists and talking to them and having them share their stories and everything. And it's just time just goes by so fast. You know,
mhm.
when you're with good friends and family and you're enjoying the conversation, you know, hours can just go by so fast, you know. And
Yeah.
it's like, oh my gosh, I got to leave already. You just got here, kind of thing. Uh, but I got some what I kind of call some rapid fire questions for you. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. All right. Here we go. What's your favorite color?
Um, Even though it's not on my palette, blue.
A blue.
Yeah,
Is there a particular blue
ironically.
that you like?
Um, I think ultramarine is kind of, it's like a very basic one, but I think it's very useful. I like phthalo blue. Sometimes it's more like a more synthetic color, but it gets some pretty like vibrant some vibrant blues with that. So
Yeah.
that one's fun to
Yeah.
use.
I'm using ultramarine blue a little bit more than I used to. I'm starting to really like it, you know,
Hmm.
and what you can do with it. Um, used to use a lot more of, I guess, cerulean and maybe a little Prussian, but cobalt too. But yeah, I'm
Hmm.
finding that where I'm doing more with ultramarine than the other blues. In fact, I don't even put it out on my palette, the others anymore. I
Oh,
just put ultramarine out. Occasionally I may because it depends on what I'm painting. I said I might need a little cerulean on there,
mhm.
and I'll mix it in and everything. So that's interesting. Blue is my favorite color.
Yeah.
I've liked blue pretty much all my life. Probably my closet has more blue shirts in it. In fact, I got a blue shirt on now, but it's just the way I am. All right. If you could have a superpower, what would it be?
Hmm. Should it be art related?
No, these are just random questions. You could have a superpower, what would it be?
Um, I don't know, probably like go back in time, like time travel, because there's a lot of things that I wonder, like, you know, how it actually happened or what something really looked like. So yeah.
That's the one I would have. Yeah,
Hmm.
I thought about that. I would go back in time and knowing what I know today, uh, I would invest my money in Microsoft and
Yeah.
Google and Amazon and Berkshire Hathaway. You know, so yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Hey, all right, all right. What's your favorite holiday and why?
Hmm. Um, I think Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I don't know, I like, even though I'm from the South and I've lived my whole life in the South, I'm not as much as a warm weather person.
Okay.
And I do like, I'm like in spring right now and it's getting a little warmer, but I like that kind of, where it starts getting cooler, and I like wearing a lot of like more cold weather clothes. I just like
Okay.
the jackets and all that. And so I think when it starts getting colder and just kind of like just the, um, the feeling of Christmas and that kind of season is nice. It's kind
Yeah.
of nostalgic, and
Yeah.
as a kid, that's like when you got out for Christmas break, and
Oh yeah. Oh
so
yeah.
yeah.
Wonderful time of year, as they
Hmm.
say. Yeah. Christmas is probably my favorite holiday. You know, I've had various artists on here to talk about different holidays, New Year's Day to Thanksgiving, 4th of July, Independence Day,
Mhm.
some favorites. But yeah, I like Christmas as well. All right. Describe your dream art studio.
Oh,
You have unlimited resources to create your dream studio. Describe for us what that would be. Share that vision.
I think it would be. I'm trying to think of like the size of it. It wouldn't be. I don't think it would be huge. I think I just need enough space to paint, and then also have like an area if I wanted to have a model come in and paint them or do some photo shoots.
Right.
And I think probably like very light walls in terms of the color, some, like north facing windows, to get that good light in. Uh, yeah. I don't know. I never really thought about that. I guess, well,
Yeah.
I kind of think about it, but in more of like a abstract way. Like I can't really, it's hard to describe. Like I'll see other people's studios and think like, oh, that'd be nice to have, but I don't know like the actual size or like any of the specifics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah. I've been asking these questions. Probably, the last dozen or more artists that I've interviewed, and it's been quite interesting what people come up with their dream studio. For me personally, I just like a lot of space.
Yeah. I need to have bigger ceilings too.
Yeah.
Because right now I'm in a. Yeah. Sorry. Oh no, I just got this easel behind me is it goes up to like 8 feet.
Gotcha.
And so I can't do any higher than that because that's the
right. It's bumping up against the ceiling, probably. Yeah.
So
yeah. You can probably see how my ceiling goes up here over my head. I'm in a bonus room above the garage, and so I have limited wall space. I think it's probably over 4 foot, maybe 5 foot. I don't know high. And then it starts angling up. And it's long, it's narrow, and I've got a little cubby place in the corner over there, which is crammed full of, oh goodness, canvases and drying racks and things like that. But I would want something at least probably twice its size.
Yeah.
All on one level. I'm upstairs, all on one level, and a lot more windows. I've got a window behind me, but yeah, I get afternoon light. Comes in the afternoon. So, but for the most part, I keep the blinds closed. But I probably need to let more natural light in sometimes, so I don't feel like I'm in a cave up here.
I have to close the curtains because the way I have my easel set up, there'll be a really bad glare on the.
I get that too. Yeah, I get that too. So I have to be careful with that. But yeah. If money was not an object, I don't know that I would have a art studio away from my home. I just like the convenience of being here, and because my wife still works, and if I need to go downstairs and start cooking before she comes home, then I'm here. But if I have to drive over to a studio and be there and then come home and all that, I wonder if I would be less likely, or maybe that would be, I just maybe not paint as much, because I got to drive over to the studio and do that. Now, if I had an art gallery, it would be something different. I'm going to go open up the gallery and be there and all that kind of stuff. And I think I would almost want my art studio to be separate from my art gallery, because I want that place to just be able to create and paint and everything, and then take things over to the art gallery. But anyway. Yeah. But Adam, I want to thank you so much for being on the podcast today. It's been great. It was a joy to meet you a couple of weeks or so ago up there in Forsyth. Maybe we can get together and go down to Providence Canyon and maybe do some plein air painting or someplace and everything. And you probably know some other places that you might have been to that could venture out and meet up somewhere and do some plein air painting. But wish you the best in your career moves in the future, and also with your painting. Keep up the good work. If you're going to teach some more classes, let me know when and where.
Yeah, I think we're doing another one in April.
You're going to do another one in Forsyth?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
You're going to be kind of the same thing, beginner.
I think so. Yeah.
Portrait. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Good. So folks would need to go out probably to the 1823 Artisan Guild to find out more information about taking the class from Adam. He won't disappoint you. You'll learn a lot from his class. And I just appreciate you, sharing some of your experiences with us and sharing your artist story today. So
Yeah,
thanks so much. And thanks everybody for tuning in today and being, checking us out. Just want folks to be aware that, hey, we've got more content coming out in the future. Please go out to YouTube and like and subscribe so you won't miss out on anything there. Turn that bell on so that you'll get notifications when new content is uploaded. And check us out on Facebook as well. Our Facebook page is really growing. I also put the videos and interviews out on Facebook as well. So check us out. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and thanks again, Adam, for being on the podcast, and we'll see you guys later in the next episode. Take care, everybody. We'll see you. Bye now.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Artist Stories of Middle Georgia. We really appreciate our audience and would love to hear about other artist stories you'd like for us to share. Please email us or leave a comment. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, and like and subscribe. Keep painting, everyone.